So I've been reading a lot of Doctor Stone over the past week, and hilariously, I am now past the point that the anime is currently at. I think they're at the beginning of the Stone Wars arc, and I'm just getting through I just got through the end of it, and now I'm on to the next arc, the next saga, and I really hate to say this because as on the whole, I think I really do enjoy Doctor Stone. I really do enjoy its creativity, its charm, its characters, its world, its humor. There's so much about Doctor Stone to like, and yet, I unfortunately kind of feel that they have dropped the ball. With the thing that really gripped me the most about Doctor Stone. From the very beginning, and I'm not really sure how to talk about this. I really should have done this immediately after I finished it, because this has kind of been on my this has kind of been on my mind for a while. I was just thinking this to myself a couple of days ago. Wow, Stone Wars did not have a good ending. Stone Wars, I think, kind of I don't want to say it ruined Doctor Stone. That's a bit of an exaggeration. It's basically exactly what I expected to happen. It had a creative setup, but there was no real conflict. That's kind of my thing about Doctor Stone as a whole. I think at this point is that there's no real conflict with anything. The characters and their personal drama doesn't really matter. Tsukasa, in his entire empire of might, this thing that was supposed to be the antithesis to Senku's kingdom of science, right? This entire alternative um, community in this reset society that went in a radically different direction, in its leadership structure and its development. The entire story up to this point was building up to this conflict, and then it just ends without even really any bloodshed or any real conflict. Almost like there was never any real divide between the kingdoms at all. Legit everyone in the kingdom of might, in the empire of might, basically either just loses immediately, gets steamrolled by the kingdom of silence, turns traitor, or turns out to be completely evil and backstabs Tsukasa. It's one of those three things. It's just there. Tsukasa deserve better than this. I feel like Tsukasa, if he had been handled properly, legit could have been the goat, one of the goat anime antagonists, right? We have this guy, right? In this really unique creative setup of this humanity is essentially sent back to the Stone Age. You are essentially have no power, no technology, no smartphones, no refrigeration, no heat, nothing. You don't have jack shit other than the natural resources behind you, and you have these guys who these two people, right, who start pushing for society to go in different directions. You have one that wants to rebuild society, who wants to rediscover, rebuild all the technological wonders of our modern day. But then you have the other guy who wants to preserve the world as it is and just live in this paradise, this world full of natural beauty and resources, right? Without the problems of the modern day. And this is the thing that I don't like about the Stone Wars arc. It doesn't acknowledge that Tsukasa has a very good reason for what he does. He's does not want the problems of the modern world to return. He's trying to prevent those kinds of issues from taking root again. He prefers the world the way it is, and there is some reasoning to that. You know what I mean? They did Tsukasa dirty, because every time Senku, the story, it does that Professor Layton thing where it kind of presents Senku as being absolutely in the right about everything, like regardless of what it is. Like this is most prevalent when it comes to like the science stuff and like how he builds stuff and like knows everything and stuff like that, which kind of is extremely unrealistic. Like really, like one guy can like know all this shit, but it also extends to his morality as well, and in a lot of aspects that kind of like makes him really admirable. Like he's legitimately like really good friends with like people who are way different than him. Tsukasa, Yuzahira, Taiju. Like he legitimately befriends the villagers. Who, by the way, I also kind of fucking hate because I think there is no way that astronauts would have come back down after the world ended and not rebuild society themselves. Like, why the fuck did these people develop into a Stone Age society? Like, your resources had not decayed yet. The world was perfectly fine. Like, you didn't try to, like, figure out how to undo the petrification yourself. You just sat there on that island until you died of phenomena. Like, fuck off. Like, just fuck off. It was... That is so fucking stupid. Like, Senku is legit, by himself, is, like, more resourceful and intelligent than, like, 6 highly trained NASA astronauts. Like, what the fuck? Like, anyway, really... I'm not a fan of like certain plot aspects of this. Really, it's really weird too, because like a lot of aspects of it, like certain aspects of it are handled really well, but then like you start thinking that like, oh wow, this is kind of contrived, you know? Like, oh man, Senku's dad, he was an astronaut, and then he was in space when the petrification hit. Then he came back down. Then he fucked some hot American singer with huge tits. And then like their descendants went on to meet Senku when he broke out, and they knew he was gonna come back, and so they left a record for him to like congratulate him. Like it's so stupid. Like in a lot of ways, it's so contrived. Like in a lot of ways, like Senku breaking out of the stone was contrived. Like Tsukasa. Senku surviving, Tsukasa killing him. Like, that was contrived. Like, anything about Dr. Stone in and of itself. Like, when I say Dr. Stone, I mean the healing process of, like, the petrification. Because apparently, like, when you get petrified, it, like, heals whatever's wrong with you. So, like, if you're, like, dying of some terminal illness, if you get Dr. Stone, if you get petrified, you'll come out. And you come out of the stone, you'll be fine. Like if your statue is broken into a bazillion pieces and Yuzuriha spends an entire year somehow reassembling all of you, you can be revived. Like it's so stupid. You know what I mean? Like I got way off track there. I was talking about like Tsukasa, but like there's a lot of plot elements with Dr. Stone. Like, it doesn't seem to care about its characters or its plot. Like, it wants you to appreciate how awesome the science is and, like, its practical usage. Like, it's a shonen manga where they sort of use technological advancements in place of, like, power levels, and it is really great, like, in a lot of ways. Like, it is so it's so good. It's so good, usually. But, like, they really do, on a lot of occasions, drop the ball. Like it does not feel like they care about the characters. It did not feel they cared about Tsukasa. Like everything he does seems to just every character in this seems to like exist to like introduce a plot point and then is like promptly dropped. Like Ruri, she was sick, so that justified like developing the modern day pharmaceuticals and giving them to her to cure her illness. Once that happens, basically out of the story. Like, I don't think... she's, like, sometimes a background character, and she sometimes, like, says a line, but, like, you know, she doesn't interact with Taiju. Like, Taiju and Yuzahira come back, which is something I've been looking forward to since the beginning, right? I didn't like the fact that they fucked off at all, which was kind of stupid to begin with, but, yeah, they come back in the Stone Wars arc, and they don't really interact with the villagers at all. They just sort of oh hey, it's fucking Taiju, it's Yuzuriha, and like I like these characters. Like I want to see them interact. I want to see them like become friends. But no, it doesn't happen. Like they exist to like promote plot points, and they exist to serve Senku and his interests, and that's about it. They don't have character, they don't have ambitions, they don't have goals. They just want to see like what Senku builds next, and like that's kind of understandable considering the premise, but at the same time, like it could have been so much more. You know, like it's so disappointing in that respect. Like the Stone Wars arc, this was Tsukasa's chance to really show Senku that like his ideas had real merit. Like his ideas of like wanting to change society from what it was. Like his appreciation for traditionalism, right? His appreciation for like the stone world, right? Like there are things to admire and appreciate about that. Like, but no, like they spend that entire arc not even doing anything. Like they just basically just sit around with their thumb up their ass and let Senku just run over them with a fucking tank. Like it's just. It could have been so much better. Like, it really, really could have been so much better. And thankfully, it seems like... I mean, there are still dumb plot elements. Like I mentioned, the reassembling the statues thing, I think, kind of like, kills any credibility. Like, Tsukasa had as a villain. Like, if breaking the statues doesn't kill them... then what the fuck has he done that's in any way antagonistic? Like it's like he tried to kill Senku. Like, it's just... I mean, Tsukasa's... It's like... the conflict between them, like, almost feels like it was completely pointless. Like, this entire arc is just... I don't know, like, I wish I was articulating myself better about this, because like I swear like I had a lot more thoughts when I was just got done thinking about it, and I really can't wait to come home and rant about it a little bit. But all right, well, I guess it has been a while, and I have been reading ahead, and it is getting enjoyable again. We are getting to the point where we're going to explore the stone world outside of the confines of wherever the fuck we are. I guess Japan. So yeah, they need to go to Brazil. So we're gonna see how that goes. I could see it being. Oh yeah. I suppose I have like one last thing to talk about when it comes to like Dr. Stone. This kind of ties into like what I said about the petrification ray. The show, the manga. I guess the series as a whole really tries to sell you on this idea that like it's real science. This is like real applicable bullshit that you can use to like survive and like do stuff and like to construct and like do things like. And in a lot of ways, that's really, really cool. But I think it kind of has like this Star Trek problem where like there's a lot of things that are scientifically accurate. But then there's a lot of bullshit that isn't. And in the case of Dr. Stone, it is like the petrification beam. Like, the contrived-ass petrification beam. Like, again, like, I don't mind, like, the fact that it exists and that it, like, turned humanity to stone and stuff like that. Like, that was actually pretty awesome. But, like, the thing I have a problem with is, like, its utility as a restoration thing, like as a Dr. Stone, as they call it, like this fucking thing seems to think that it gives people the ability to Senku seems to have this impression that like this thing can literally prevent people from dying. Like if you have Dr. Stone, if you're petrified, if you're dying and you get like unpetrified, like you're fine apparently. So like it's just this thing. It just does not make any sense at all. Like it's so out there. It's so like outside the realm of possibility. It's so like so convenient for the plot in a lot of ways. Like that I just it's one of those things that I just can't take seriously about it. Like the series does not do a very good job implementing its core sci-fi aspect into its real world science. Like you're just supposed to just accept that, like, okay, Dr. Stone can literally bring people back from the dead if their bodies haven't decayed enough. Like it's just supposedly that's what annoys me about this, is that like Senku doesn't have proof for any of this. He hasn't tested it. He doesn't even have access to the fucking beam, and yet he somehow thinks that, like, oh man, if we freeze Sukasa's body, we could, while he's dying, we could just bring him back. We could just petrify him with Dr. Stone and then just revive him later. Like it's dumb. There's no other word for it. Like it's just plain stupid. Like it's very contrived. They could have done a whole lot better. Like they did such a great job, like emphasizing that, like Senku and Sakasa like really respect each other and like sort of like admire each other in a way, even though they were like on opposing sides. But like that didn't really evolve. That never really evolved into an actual conflict. Like it just like there was nothing. Tsukasa personally did nothing of interest in this entire arc. It was, other than be like awesome as fuck. Yeah, Tsukasa, yeah, such a waste of a character. I have to say, like, even if he comes back and like is one of the good guys now, I think they kind of squandered what made the character special in my eyes. Someone who was willing to challenge the protagonist on this on this front, like the direction in which humanity should go in this situation. Like I found that really interesting, and they completely failed to sell anyone on the. They completely failed to make the Empire threatening or engaging at all. Like they're just another obstacle for science to overcome, and that is a real shame.